In Memoriam is a poem about oppositions. I've mentioned several of them. Faith and doubt would be one. Life and death, obviously, would be another. Dark and light would be another. Um, Solitude and community would be another. The poet often laments that he feels so alone in his grief and yearns for some kind of community. So we want to ask, are there moments in the poem where these oppositions seem to unify? And if they do unify, does that unity persist? Well, for me, one of the most resplendent passages, magnificent passages in the whole poem is poem number 95, where the poet is reading Hallam's letters and has a kind of epiphany. And I want to look at that and talk about it for a minute. And then I want to glance to the end of the poem, which is, strangely enough, no longer elegy, but a epithalamium, a marriage song. So the epithalamium is a song that one sings to celebrate a marriage, which is about as far away as you can get from an elegy, which is a song you would sing about someone dying and being away from you, whereas marriage, of course, and the epithalamium is about unity. But here we are in book 95, poem 95, and the poet says, I hunger seized my heart, and he starts to read the letters. A hunger seized my heart. I read of that glad year which once had been, and those fallen leaves which kept their green, the noble letters of the dead, the letters of Hallam. And strangely on the silence broke the silent speaking words, and strange was love's dumb cry, defying change to test his worth. And strangely spoke the faith, the vigor, bold to dwell on doubts that drive the coward back, and keen through wordy snares to track suggestion to her inmost cell. So these words, silent on the page, suddenly cry. And what do they cry? Love. The silent speaking words and strange was love's dumb cry, defying change. Love's dumb cry. So coming from the words is not necessarily articulation, articulated language, but a dumb cry of love, a kind of force, an energy. And what does it do? It defies change, saying that if I still love Hallam with the kind of love I had when he was alive, then there's a way in which he does still live. There's a way in which he does still live in these words and these letters. So there's a communion here, a touch, and he uses that language. So word by word and line by line, the dead man touched me from the past. Remember all that imagery surrounding the hand? Well, here we see the touch that the poet has longed for. The dead man touched me from the past, and all at once it seemed at last the living soul was flashed on mine. So interestingly, in a first edition, Tennyson wrote not the living soul, but his living soul, suggesting that now my soul is merged with Hallam's. But why did he change it? The living soul suggests that it could be Hallam's living soul, but it could be some kind of cosmic principle. It could be God. It could be some sort of ubiquitous consciousness running through the world. In other words, there becomes the possibility of a metaphysical aspect of the soul, suggesting not just communion with his friend, but maybe transcendence of his own body, transcendence from his own body to something ubiquitous or even eternal. And mine in his was wound and whirled about imperial heights of thought, and came on that which is. Came on that which is. Suddenly, in this poem about doubt, suddenly there's this sense of this is happening. This is something I can hold on to. This is, and caught the deep pulsations of the world. Aeonian music measuring. There's that word measure, measuring out the steps of time. Maybe the world's not random. Maybe there is a kind of musicality to the way time itself functions. There's a rhythm to time, pulsations of time. And now I'm merging with that order. So behind the veil of seeming chaos, there is an order, a music, and now I'm combined with it. Aeonian music measuring out the steps of time, the shocks of chance, the blows of death. Yes, chance appears, death appears, but ultimately behind chance, behind death is an order, and it's a beautiful order. This is what he feels while reading these letters. At length my trance was canceled, so it's only momentary, a brief epiphany. At length my trance, he has a vision, but now it's gone, stricken through with doubt. So the doubt comes back. It's a temporary reprieve from doubt. Vague words, but how hard to frame in matter molded forms of speech, or even for intellect to reach through memory that which I became. So even though I'm now feeling doubt, and the words on the page and maybe the words I've just spoken feel vague and inadequate to what's happened, it happened. I remember this moment. Till now, the doubtful dusk revealed the knolls once more, where couched at ease the white kine glimmered, and the trees laid their dark arms about the field. There's that image of darkness here, the trees as dark arms. And sucked from out the distant gloom, a breeze began to tremble o'er. A breeze starts to tremble through these dark trees. The large leaves of the sycamore and fluctuate all the still perfume, and gathering freshly overhead, rocked the full foliaged elms, and swung the heavy folded rose, and flung the lilies to and fro, and said, "The dawn, the dawn," and died away. And east and west, without a breath, mixed their dim lights like life and death to broaden into boundless day. Gorgeous. So after this trance, the doubt comes, and he wonders, can I really express what happened? But then, just when the doubt starts to come again, he feels a breeze, like Wordsworth's correspondent breeze, a breeze blowing through the dark arms of the trees and making them blow and fluctuate. And suddenly there's this rhythm of all the elm trees, not just the sycamores, and the rose itself is now in this kind of rhythm, and the lilies are in this kind of rhythm. And suddenly, just as a rhythm brings together oppositions, if you think of vacillation or fluctuation, undulation, dawn comes, and night and day are mixed in the aurora, and east and west, moon and sun, are mixed, and life and death are mixed. So suddenly there is this harmony, this unity, this momentary sense that all is organized, that all strife is illusory, that underneath the strife is something deep and lasting and solacing. But of course, this is only poem 95. We have to go on for several more poems, so the doubt comes back again. But we need to pay attention to these moments of unity throughout the poem, not just this, but in other places, because all these moments of unity, temporary, are ritualized at the end. The poem, strangely enough, ends with an epithalamium, which is a marriage song. It's a song about the marriage of Tennyson's sister Cecilia in 1842 to Edmund Lushington. Hallam himself was engaged to Tennyson's sister Emily. So in singing praises of this wedding, Tennyson probably had in his mind what could have been, that this could have been the wedding of Arthur and Emily, but of course it isn't. But what is an epithalamium? But it's a song that celebrates the bringing together of opposition to people, to genders, traditionally, in the Victorian age certainly, coming together, overcoming difference with identity, overcoming opposition with unity. And that is really what marriage is. It's a ritualization of unity, of two becoming one, of oppositions merging and mingling and harmonizing. So this is a kind of symbol of hope that is gestured toward throughout the poem. Of course, and what does Tennyson most want? He wants to marry, figuratively speaking, Hallam. He wants to overcome his individuality and merge with the individuality of Hallam. And ultimately, that is what proper memory allows him to do, proper grieving allows him to do, and proper articulation of that grieving allows him to express and celebrate. So what we have in the poem is we have these moments of what could possibly be, a unity that could possibly be, like that described in poem 95, and that ritualized in the very end, in the epilogue. But these are kind of little bursts of what could be scattered throughout the poem, but much of the poem shows the poet trying to get back to those moments, falling from, climbing back toward, falling from, climbing back toward, which is of course how life is, isn't it? It's rare that you have an insight that will last for more than even a day or two. Oh my gosh, I have this insight now. Now it all makes sense to me. Life will change forever. Life doesn't work like that. You get an insight, you get a hope, but then it goes away and ignorance and doubt comes back. And then maybe you get another insight and another feeling of hope. And maybe it deepens your understanding of what happened before. Maybe it doesn't. But the rhythm of this poem feels like the rhythm of everyday life to a certain extent. Only in movies do people have great conversions that change them forever. In actual life, you have little tiny, tiny insights that maybe over time accrue into a larger change, but that's a long, arduous, and unpredictable process. And to me, one of the brilliant aspects of the poem is its kind of psychological realism in mapping how the desire for solace really takes place sporadically, um, messily, unpredictably over a long, long time.